You don't lack discipline. You were just taught the wrong version of it. The room is dim, lit only by the glow of a desk lamp that has stayed on longer than planned. Books are open, but not absorbed. Notes are written, but not remembered. Outside, the city has already settled into sleep, yet you are still negotiating with yourself. Just one more push, just a little more willpower. You sit there, feeling the familiar weight in your chest. Not panic, not fear. Something quieter, a tired disappointment that arrives when effort does not turn into progress. You have tried to be disciplined. You have forced routines. You have made promises that sounded strong in the morning and fragile by night. And slowly, without saying it out loud, a question forms. Why does discipline feel like a fight you keep losing? Most students carry this belief silently, that discipline is a kind of inner toughness some people are born with and others must fake, that it is loud, strict, almost harsh, a clenched jaw, a rigid schedule, a constant pushing through resistance. When that version fails, you assume something is wrong with you. You see others waking early, posting study streaks, tracking habits in neat grids. You compare their visible structure to your invisible fatigue. You wonder why simple consistency feels heavy, while others make it look clean and controlled. Have you noticed how that comparison drains you before the work even begins? How discipline starts to feel like judgment rather than support? I felt that too. The sense that discipline was something external, imposed, like a rule book written by someone who never had to live inside my days. And so every attempt became an argument, with time, with energy, with myself. The frustration deepens because you are not avoiding effort. You try, you care, you show up. Yet discipline, as you learned it, demands constant force. It asks you to override how you feel, to ignore context, to treat every day as identical. And when you inevitably fall short, it offers no forgiveness, only silence. This is where many students quietly give up. Not dramatically, just gradually. They still study, still attend classes, but the belief fades. The belief that discipline can feel humane, that it can belong to you instead of ruling you. And so the days fill with low-grade guilt, a sense of always being behind an ideal you did not choose. Is it any wonder that motivation becomes unreliable, that rest feels undeserved, that effort starts to feel hollow? The turning point did not arrive as a breakthrough. It arrived as a question, asked during a long walk when nothing else was demanding attention. What if discipline was never meant to feel like control? I noticed the trees lining the path, each one shaped differently, some leaning, some scarred, none rushing, none apologizing for growing slowly. They reminded me of something written by Epictetus. He warned that forcing the mind against its nature leads to quiet rebellion. True discipline, he argued, comes from agreement, not domination. That thought stayed with me. What if discipline was not about commanding yourself forward, but about arranging your life so forward movement became natural, like a river guided by its banks, not pushed by hands? The first shift was learning to listen before acting. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to study, I began asking, what makes study feel possible today? Some days the answer was time. Other days it was environment. Often it was emotional residue from something unrelated. This phase feels uncomfortable because it slows you down. You stop performing discipline and start observing friction. You notice when your mind resists and you let that resistance speak, not to obey it, but to understand it. Surprisingly, this does not weaken discipline. It roots it, and that's when the real shift begins. Next comes shaping the environment with intention. The Stoics believed that willpower was unreliable, but structure endured. They designed their days around fewer temptations, not stronger resolve. In practice, this meant small changes, studying where distractions were physically absent, choosing fewer tasks instead of ambitious lists, letting mornings breathe before demanding output. Discipline here feels quieter, almost invisible. You are no longer wrestling impulses because they are not constantly invited in. Like a garden protected from harsh winds, focus begins to grow on its own. And slowly, effort starts to feel lighter. Then there is the rhythm of energy.
Students are often taught to work against their natural cycles, to treat low energy days as failures, to expect consistency in output instead of consistency in direction. But seasons don't grow crops year-round. They alternate. When you begin respecting your own cycles, discipline changes shape. High energy days become for building. Low energy days become for maintaining. Reflection replaces self-criticism. You stop demanding intensity at all times. You start honoring continuity. And something steadier than motivation takes root. As this rhythm settles, identity quietly follows. You stop saying, "I need to be disciplined," and start noticing, "I am someone who returns." Returns after distraction, after rest, after imperfect days. This matters more than streaks. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. When your inner language softens, discipline becomes a trait, not a task. You are no longer trying to become disciplined. You are practicing being someone who acts with care, and that changes how failure feels. The final phase is patience. This is the hardest to accept because it lacks drama. Progress becomes subtle, almost boring, but it compounds. Like stone shaped by water, the change is undeniable only when you look back. You notice that studying no longer requires negotiation, that rest no longer carries guilt, that effort feels aligned instead of forced. Discipline, in its truest form, stops being loud. It becomes dependable. Discipline was never meant to hurt you. It was never meant to shame you into performance. You were taught a version built on pressure, not understanding, on control, not cooperation. And it's no surprise that your mind resisted it. The alternative is not ease. It is honesty. Tomorrow, notice one moment when you usually push. Pause instead. Ask what would make the next step feel possible. That's discipline, practiced gently, and gently practiced things tend to last. This channel is a place for that kind of growth, quiet, enduring, shared. If this way of seeing resonates, there is more ahead, and we will walk it together.